Be honest. How much is your axe collection or your axe addiction costing you? Second question. How are you paying for it? Let's examine the first part. You might be an axe addict if you have a small collection like this, but this is the tip of the iceberg. These are the axes I let people see and I show off. There's a whole bunch more going on behind the scenes. They've taken up almost every part of my life. They're in my basement in 2 or 3 rooms. They're in the back porch. They're in the garage. They're in my truck. For instance, they're in various stages in buckets near my workbench. I have several wooden stumps or blocks down in the basement where they dry. These are kept near the back door. This is a rotation where they'll be taken out to the backyard for testing. Those are just a couple I'm always grabbing off this junk shelf to make my evening fires. This one's just had its handle repaired and it's getting its coats of BLO. My workbench gets littered with them when I'm sorting out which ones do I want to hang next. I have boxes and cases of them in a back far room. I didn't know I needed double bits. I've got boxes of those. I don't know how many. I've got cupboards full of small hand axes and hatchets. So there's about 120 of those downstairs, and all of them are going to need handles. So I have handles on shelves and in boxes. If I'd have turned around, there's a Rubbermaid dumpster, and it's full of handles. And it's not just the axes, it's going to be the tools that you use, like the files and sharpening pucks. I don't have either of those. And maybe a rasp, this little foreign one. They don't cost too much money, but then you get seduced into thinking, well, I kind of want fancier tools like these spoke shapes. That wooden spoke shape kills, man. I love that thing. And remember how I said I was never going to have a draw knife? Well, now I've got one. And although I love hand tools, sometimes you just got to speed things up. Well, I've always had a grinding wheel. I don't have that thing. I almost bought it. But wouldn't that be nice? And then, of course, if you're going to have axes, you got to cover up those blades, and then you start getting into leatherworking. So I've got leatherworking tools and dies and kits and strings and threads and all kinds of stuff. Not to mention buying a shoulder or a side of tooling leather so that you can make the sheaths. So how in the world do you pay for all this stuff? I know after all these years, I've gone in many thousands of dollars, and I try to do everything on a budget. My cap is $20 a head. I have over $2,000 of heads in the basement right now. Well, I have more than I need, and a lot of what I have, I've already done the tests. I've gotten satisfaction from them. They can go. So obviously, you would start a store, right? And I did. Here's a clip from the beginnings of the store. Some people have stumbled across the site. I don't know why it's not public, but they found it. And I don't have anything listed there because the problem with what I do is I'm a niche market. I and mine, I'm not into axe throwing. I'm not doing bushcraft. I'm not timber sports. I don't make exotic Viking heads, and I'm not showing off, elaborate color schemes or wood species. The people interested are the people who are most interested in what I'm doing. They want to do what I'm doing. They don't want assembled finished heads. They want the rough stuff, the barn finds, without having been cleaned up or touched. They want to hang them themselves. If I had access wholesale to products like files and stones and sharpening systems, maybe I could sell those, but we already have people selling those, and I can't probably beat Amazon or eBay. So the store kind of fizzled out. But something weird happened, and it's because of my job. I was taking between a dozen and 2 dozen different axes to my jobs because I would show up at places. Each week I'm at a different hotel, and they have a lawn with a winter storm damage, or I'm not staying in five-star hotels. I'm staying at little mom and pops. Most of them are immigrant families trying to save their money. They can't spend a lot on these services, and they appreciate it when I help them out. This one is a school marm that broke off probably about 8 feet, was quite a bit of a reach above my head. This is actually the same place when I found out I don't like Council Tool Boys Axe handles the way they come. They need to be thinned down. They were hurting my hands, but my old house handles were a joy to swing. Never hurt my hands. That's when I learned thin your handles down. Well, that was a few years ago. But here's what it looked like when I started from the back side. I had about three boys' axes I brought out from my truck and was working on that. And see, now there's no chainsaw noise to bother anybody. But you know what it did? It drew spectators. I saw people from the restaurant part of the hotel watching me as I worked, and different cars would pull up. They were going to drive by, but they'd stop and watch. And I thought that was kind of cool. I was getting interest. Here it is the next morning because I worked until dark. And then I come back, that evening. I'm going to set up here and start working so that when I leave, I can leave them a neat pile. They really appreciated that. I enjoyed getting to swing the axes because I'm constantly feeling and testing what are the differences between the axes and the old style and what's different about the modern ones. I would have done more, but they said that was good enough. So then here's another hotel, another week. And I go out and I find out there's a gigantic pile of wood behind the shed where they keep all their equipment. I had a Connecticut Pattern Collins Legitimus with me I wanted to try out, so I fed it. There are often construction workers where I stay because of the rates are low. And there were construction workers there. We were grilling out that night. I built a little fire from my wood. They got interested in the axes. And I sold one on the spot. Guy asked me how much I wanted. I told him. He ran across the street to an ATM and gave me cash. And he went home with a 24-inch little camp axe, a boy's axe for he and his boy to use when he got home. And that's when it hit me. I have 20 axes in the truck. Bring some I can sell. They'll see me using them. I'll let them use them. They'll get to feel them. It's an impulse buy. They want it right now. Oh, I don't sell them every week, but there's a good chance I'll sell them if I visit a campground or am at the hotel. Here's one where I saw a wood pile up against a building and there's a fire ring. So I start chopping. Construction workers come out and they see me working and they want to try it. So I got them some axes and I let them try. And so they were not crazy about the double bit. And a lot of people are afraid of those. That's a very difficult axe to sell because people don't see the practicality, they only see the danger. But I let them split. We sat around and had a fire late into the night. This one's a horseshoe-shaped motor court. Most of the people were staying there again the next night. I had a bigger crowd on the second night, and we all enjoyed a meal because somebody bought us all steaks. So having my axes and making the fire is a source of camaraderie. It's a topic of discussion, and it's a sales opportunity. So that's not just true of those places. Last week I went out to eat at a restaurant. Somebody near me was talking about axes. Mentioned I've got axes in my truck. They came out to see them. Boom. He's on Venmo transferring money to me, and two of those axes are gone. The way I'm selling mine, I'm comfortable with. I'm not competing with other stores. Um, I'm not in your territory. Nobody around me is doing this. Wherever I go, I feel comfortable selling them by demonstrating them and guiding them. I'm very nervous that somebody's going to buy my axe and get hurt. So I also give them a link to my safety video that I made and encourage them to look at other safety videos that they can find. If you ask me, does selling my axes come close to paying for my hobby? Answer, no. And that's because I take all the money any money I make almost immediately goes into buying supplies for working on my axes, or I pick up heads that I see auctioning cheap. My next question is, how about you? Is there a way your hobby pays for itself? Maybe you have a forge. Maybe you have an online store. Go ahead, let us know where it is. Are you just selling stuff that you've picked up and don't want, or do you sell finished axes? And if so, how do you do that? Or tell the story of some of your successes. Everybody would like probably the success of Liam Hoffman. The problem is, I don't think there's very many of us who have his skill set, for one, or put the work into it that he did to build what he's got. And then he came about it at exactly the right time. It's a combination of those things that would make you that successful. But are you at least able to make something that helps you sustain your hobby? Let us know in the comments.